I have a quick question for the avid outdoorsman that my videos happen to pop up on. Does your state offer any sort of raise and release program when it comes to hunting and wildlife? The reason I ask, and I'm not 100% sure if this is just related to New York specifically, I will read through my ag fact, but New York State is looking at abolishing the pheasant raise and release program that we have, which is really designed to fuel the interest for beginning, novice, young hunters to get involved in that wildlife management aspect. This situation was actually brought to my attention from a coworker friend that mentioned that there was potentially some legislation that would be introduced to abolish this pheasant raise and release program, which is funded through the state. And I'll get into that in a second. So today's agricultural fact of the day. According to an article published by the New York Times, New York State is considering abolishing the pheasant raising and release program. This program has been in place since 1908 and provides 65,000 birds per year to foster interest in field sports among children and novice hunters. The program is funded through tax placed on arms and ammunition, in addition to hunting licenses, but is thought to be cruel by some because of the nature of release, and after being raised in captivity their entire lives, they have very little survival instincts. It is important to state that ringneck pheasants are not native to New York State, where this program currently exists, and they were released in 1892 to start with. So as a citizen of New York State, if you are involved with the agricultural industry in some capacity, I know that our local cooperative extension always sends out an email that has information if 4-H members decided, or community members wanted to raise those birds. So you request a certain number of pheasants to be shipped to you. It is your responsibility to brood them and raise them properly. And then at the appropriate time, you release them. And it's also my understanding, I've never participated in this myself, but I have been at schools where they've participated in this, and the DEC keeps track of where these birds are released. Now, the reason that this article posed it in a negative manner was because pheasants are not very intelligent, and they tend to find themselves in the road and not have any wherewithal to say, hey, I should not be here. Let's go back to my habitat. Because they really don't have a natural habitat, but you would think a wooded area would be where they would want to exist. But still, I mean, even myself driving home from school one day a few years ago, I saw two hanging out on the side of the road and I almost hit them. I understand the benefit to this, and we talked about it and discussed this in my intro to ag class and my 8th grade class, and most of these kids had never hunted pheasants before, but I tried to put this into their frame of mind. Think about when it started in 1908. Think about what our world looked like back then. It was drastically different. You didn't have smartphones, you didn't have computers, TVs weren't even a thing, I don't think. You may have had radios. I don't even know if they had radios back then. Did not have tractors. This was back in the horse and plow days, and things were a lot different. So I said, obviously, kids had a little bit less entertainment opportunities than they have today, and this would have been a very positive experience for children to go out. Obviously, back in those days, very sexist. Females were never considered to do those activities. So, you know, like a father-son bonding thing, or a grandfather-grandson bonding thing, or even multiple generations. Obviously, over the course of the years, interest in hunting has decreased. Some individuals that are outdoorsmen view them as an easy target. Other people actually do hunt them and say that you've got to be a pretty good shot to get them. Like I explained to my students, if your first experience with hunting and trying to find food to sustain your family is hunting deer, and you go out to the woods for hours on end and you see nothing, it's not very exciting, and kids could lose interest quickly without actually seeing the whole picture of it. And they would lose interest and be less likely to do that in the future. So according to this article, the program started to help fuel that fire, that spark inside of what would become our avid outdoorsmen when they're younger, providing them with an opportunity to be successful so that they continue with it in the future. Or like my first hunting experiences, I did not get my hunter safety course until I was well over 25, and my now husband would take me out turkey hunting, and I would have and I went out for the first 3, maybe even 4 years, and I never got a shot at anything. And had I not had him to encourage me and keep dragging me out of bed at 4 a.m. to go hunt turkeys in the month of May, I probably would never have gone again because I've wasted all this time. I distinctly remember saying I could have raised the turkeys myself, released them, and had a full freezer by now. So it's just, I don't know. What are your experiences? And if you are in the state of New York, how do you feel that abolishing this program will affect the future for our aspiring outdoorsmen? Do you personally know people that have participated in this program? And if you're in another state, do you have a program similar to this? Like I told my students, you aren't just going to keep white-tailed deer captive and raise them up to a certain point and then release them into the wild. That's not a thing. So I would be interested to see what other state programs are, if there is a program such as this. The people that raise them are only responsible for the housing and the feed, but the chicks are completely free. Anyway, that's it for the Ag Fact of the day. I hope you learned something or maybe got some wheels turning. I don't know. The quail are doing great. There were 2 more hatched this morning when I came in, so I think we are about 22 quail chicks right now. And that's it. Happy Friday.